Alright, time for a new cooking video. Last one we did was my wife's rice and peas, and everyone seemed to like that. Today we're going to do an American classic. This is a meatloaf. This is my meatloaf. So, let's talk. We have a couple of tomatoes, small tomatoes, cut up. Here's a sweet pepper. It's kind of half red, half green. And these are a couple medium onions. We also have some minced garlic, some garlic salt, breadcrumbs, ketchup, honey. In here I've got some marjoram, which is the spice we're going to use, another spice we're going to use. And that's what we're going to do. So let's get started. Alright, now what we've got here is about 2.5 or 3 pounds of ground beef. Pick whatever ground beef you like, works fine. I throw in the tomatoes, peppers, onions, garlic salt, about a tablespoon of the marjoram, I also want a tablespoon of the garlic, the minced garlic. Now we're going to put half a cup of honey, of ketchup. Now this is a big meatloaf. We got almost 3 pounds of meat here, so I use 3 eggs. A bag of breadcrumbs here. We're going to put this entire bag in now. Well, maybe not. Seems like an awful lot. I'm going to mix it, and we're going to see how much more it needs. It's hard to explain, but you can tell when it's about right. Just dump the rest of it. You can tell when the meatloaf is right. It gets a consistency that's a big help. It goes from sloppy to kind of firm and malleable. You can tell when it gets about right. And that's about right. Alright, now this is the pan we're going to cook this in. And we don't want the meatloaf to sit right on this grate because it'll kind of sag and we lose, it just doesn't work very well. So what I do is I put a piece of tin foil down and just punch a series of holes in it. We want the fat to drip out. We want the juices to go into the bottom of this pan. We're going to make gravy out of it soon. But in order to make gravy, you've got to have holes in this for the juices to fall through. Next step, we're going to take the meat out of this bowl. We're going to put it on this tin foil here. We're going to roll it out. Goal is we want this about 1 inch thick, give or take. And we're going to take some cheddar cheese and put cheddar cheese right in here. Now we're just going to roll it. Clean up the ends. And one of the things that I always do is I put a little depression in the center. Now, meatloaf, the number one problem most people have with meatloaf is it's too dry. Now, by putting all these vegetables in, that really makes a big difference. But one little trick that I do is, first off, you don't put the meatloaf directly on the bottom of the pan. It has to be lifted up so the juices will drip through. But I also put about a cup of water in the bottom of this pan just before I put it in the oven. That'll help us with the gravy later, but it also helps steam this inside the oven. You don't want to cover this completely, you just want to cover it enough. We're going to put the glazing on it after it's done. Now it goes in the oven, 350 degrees for 45 minutes. Now while that's in the oven, we're going to make the glazing to put on top of it. We have half a cup of honey in here now, and now we're going to add another half a cup of ketchup. Basically it's a 1-to-1 ketchup to honey, and we're just going to mix it in, and at 45 minutes we're going to cover the meatloaf with this glazing. Now the final thing that I do while the meatloaf is in the oven is I prepare the slurry for the gravy. We're going to make a gravy with this. Meatloaf has to be, you want a good gravy. And this is all we do. We take a little all-purpose flour, mix it with water, and stir it until the lumps are out. Then we're going to use this to make the gravy as soon as the meatloaf is done. Alright, now here's the glazing. All we're going to do is cover it.
I'll go back with this, I'll make it steam.
Yeah, just get this on here, completely cover the whole thing with it, and then we're going to put it back in the oven for about 10 minutes. Last 10 minutes is up. Time to pull this meatloaf out. Let's get a look at it. There it is, guys. And there it is, guys. There's a slice. Looks really good. We're getting ready to do the gravy up, and once we're ready with the gravy, we're gonna get this all set up. Okay, we've got all this water in here. This is what we're gonna use for the gravy. Pull out the aluminum foil, and we're gonna put some water over it. We're trying to rinse off all the juices. Now we pour these juices right into this pan. That's why we use the water in the system. When we put water in it, this is why. It gives you this consistency that we can now make the gravy out of. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn this oven on, or the stove, I mean, hot enough to get this to a gentle boil. We're starting to get boiling right here. What we're going to do is take our slurry and we pour the slurry into the spots where it's boiling. We put a little bit here. We stir it in good. Alright, it's starting to thicken. You can feel it. Now it just needs to simmer on a slow simmer. And turn the heat down and let it slow simmer. I like my gravy thick, so I'm just going to put the last of this in. And we're going to just let it simmer slow. Give it about 10 minutes simmer with like this, and you can feel the gravy get thick here. All right, guys, there's the gravy. Look, it's nice and thick. About 5 minutes of simmering, and there we go. We're ready to go. All we need is some mashed potatoes. We're going to make a fantastic meal. Well, there we go, guys. Meatloaf, gravy, mashed potatoes. And for those of you ladies that think you need a vegetable, go ahead and cook up basically whatever vegetable you want. Personally, I put a whole bunch of onions, peppers, and tomatoes in the meatloaf, so that's enough vegetable for me.